are proud to announce the following 2021 schedule of events for the museum as appropriate according to Indiana and CDC guidelines. We're going to start with a big celebration on Friday, May 7th. It's going to be a party to celebrate the approval of House Bill 1197 that designates Evansville's own P-47 Hoosier Spirit II as Indiana's state aircraft. The new design for Hoosier Spirit II will be revealed at this event. Attendees will include Suzanne Crouch and other local politicians. A media invite to this event will go out on May 3rd. At the end of May, on the last weekend, the Evansville Wartime Museum is going to celebrate the 4th anniversary of its opening in 2017. Here are some of the events planned for that weekend. Saturday, May 29th, we're going to have some local Evansville pilots donating their time and planes to help raise funds for the Evansville Wartime Museum. Paid visitors to the museum will be able to ride in these planes for a donation of $75 to $100 per person. The planes will take passengers on a 20-minute tour of Evansville, departing and returning to the museum. Reservations for flights can begin May 17th. Also on that day, D Company, 334th Infantry Regiment, 84th Infantry Division, with members from Indiana and Kentucky, will be on site as World War II reenactors on the museum grounds. This group enjoys educating the public on the life of a World War II soldier and their daily struggles in combat abroad. Visitors can learn the history of one of the units that stopped the Axis at the Battle of the Bulge. So that's on Saturday. On Sunday, May 30th, Evansville's own P-47 Hoosier Spirit II will be rolled out of the museum for an engine run on the tarmac south of the museum. Paid visitors will be able to watch while the engine runs for the first time since it arrived in Evansville last September. Following the engine run, we're planning to have a speaker who can talk about the 1-ton Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp 2-row 18-cylinder radial engine producing 2,000 horsepower that runs the P-47. So that's our Memorial Weekend events. July 9th to the 11th, we have another big weekend. There will be 3 World War II planes from the Commemorative Air Force at the Evansville Wartime Museum for tours and rides. Planes include a B-17 Flying Fortress, a North American T-6 Texan, a Beechcraft C-45 Expediter. The 3 planes will be available for tours and rides. Admission to the museum that weekend will be $20 and include tours of these 3 planes. Flights will be extra. September 11th and 12th is First Responders Weekend. That weekend at the museum will be dedicated to those first responders who helped us get through the past year with their dedication to service. October 31st is our Halloween Bash. Paid visitors to the museum can bring their costumed children, 5 and under, get in free to see our Halloween decorations and trick or treat for candy, in addition to seeing the historic artifacts on display. November 11th, Veterans Day. All veterans and guests are invited to the museum for free breakfast, courtesy of Browning Funeral Homes, beginning at 7 a.m. Updated information on each of these events can be found closer to their dates, and you can find it either on our Facebook page or our website, which is evansvillewartimemuseum.org. We have new exhibits coming to the museum this summer that include 2 additional planes for our collection. One of them is a Boeing Stearman, which was a primary trainer for the U.S. Army Air Force, U.S. Navy, and Royal Canadian Air Force through World War II. There will also be a Republic Seabee amphibian aircraft produced in the late 1940s. We will also be adding a display case focusing on the Korean War.
Donna?
Yes. No, I talk loud anyway. Is that okay? Can everybody hear me? You good? Display case focusing on the Korean War, and there will be a special exhibit displaying 4,700 service patches from every military unit of World War II that was donated by a private collector. This is in addition to the 500 military patches already on display in our honor gallery. Also, the Evansville P-47 Foundation is still actively seeking donations to help pay for the purchase of Lose Your Spirit 2. More information on how to make a donation can be found at bringevansvilleport47home.org. There's some, on this table behind you, there are a lot of brochures. If you're interested in more information on how to contribute, please feel free to pick up one of these brochures. The museum is now open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. I'd like to open it up to questions now for myself or the other board members that are here. We'd like to thank you for your support to the museum. I'd like to introduce the other folks who are here. The chairman of the board of directors is Richard Kuhn, and that's him sitting in the front row. We also have, sitting over here with that video camera, Dr. Mark Browning, who's on the board of directors. Have Alan Sanderson. Many of you know him as a former B-47 pilot from World War II. That is Mike and Linda Tiemann and Mike Beavers. And maybe you didn't see her. There's a lady at the front desk. That was Jan Howell. Oh, there she is. Jan Howell. Do you have any questions for us? If you have any questions about the event in July with the 3 planes in here, Mr. Kuhn can probably handle some of those questions. History of the plane itself and reveal the new design. We chose May 7th because that is the anniversary of the day that was brought on charge to the military in 1945. So that will be I believe it's the 76th anniversary of when it was brought into the military. But it was actually in the military for 2 years. Didn't go over to Europe at the time because that was at the end of the war. It was a trainer plane here in the United States for a couple of years. Then it was in Venezuela in their Air Force for about 20, 30 years. Came back, was in France with a private collector for about 12 years. Then came over to the United States and was with private collectors for a while, and that's when it was completely reconditioned, restored, and named Big Ass Bird 2. Name didn't go over well with some of the cities in the South, so they changed the name to Tar Heel How, and it's been that for the past 20 some odd years, more recently as part of the Lone Star Museum in Texas. Now back in Evansville, dedicated to the first plane produced in Evansville, the Lose Your Spirit, which is why we're going to call this plane Lose Your Spirit 2.
How many planes were made here in Evansville, and how important is this acquisition of this plane for Evansville history and the school children of Evansville?
6,242 P-47s were produced here in Evansville, in addition to the 167 LSTs and billions of 45 and 30 caliber bullets. Having pieces of our history from World War II available to the current generation and generations after us so that we can continue to tell the story of what Evansville did during World War II is very important, because over time that story started to get a little lost, and now we've been able to bring it back and remind the school kids and the adults about what Evansville did, basically, which was incredible. Producing over 300 different products for the war effort that helped shorten the war and hopefully reduce the number of lives that would have been lost had we not had LSTs, had we not had P-47s.
How many workers were here compared to other places in the world?
In the world?
Or in the United States?
Well, I don't know about other, the LST shipyard had the highest percentage of employees working there at around 19,500. So that was the big employer. Republic Aviation probably would have been around second or third, or I believe in the 6,000 to 8,000 range. Do you remember the exact number, Mark?
I think 7,000, but when you include the suppliers, you get way up above that, just like Toyota has suppliers.
A lot of vendors in the area supplying parts to both the shipyard and Republic Aviation, like wings and bubble top canopies, like you see on this plane. A lot of the components were made here locally.
Can this plane still fly? Is it like...
Yes, it can.
Repeat your question.
She wants to know if the plane can still fly. It was flown into Evansville last September. We haven't done any maintenance on it since then. At some point, we will need to do more maintenance to keep it in that condition. We're going to have a reveal, like I said, May 7th, to show you a partial design for Hoosier Spirit 2. So this is your last opportunity to get a photo of the plane as it's still Tar Heel How. And then sometime this winter, the complete change of the plane, where a complete paint job will take place and the full design will be in place.
In regards to her question about how many planes is this flying, how many planes approximately are flying, how many planes were made of this type in World War II, and this is a real relic, how many are left approximately?
About 15,000 were made. There were two factories, the one in Evansville and the headquarters in Long Island, New York. So between the two, they produced 15,000. 13 or 14 are still in flying condition here in the United States. There are some planes in other countries in the world. The United States has more than any at 14. There are some others that are in storage or stationary that are not in flying condition. Fortunately for us, we didn't have to destroy our Air Force like the Japanese did. That's why Zeros are so rare and hard to find, because the Japanese had to get rid of them. But there were a lot of World War II aircraft left over at the end of the war, and we're still fortunate to have some, like the one behind me, in still flying condition.
And we have the only LST left in the world, functioning LST, so this will be a destination place for people coming to Evansville with this other relic from World War II, and we're going to have a bullet exhibit as well. But those three things are the major things of 40,000 employees during World War II, out of the 80,000 employees in World War II in Evansville. That was the highest per capita in the world of workers for the war effort.
For the size of the city, the highest producing city per capita in the nation. Also, LSC 325 is the last surviving ship that participated in the Normandy invasion. And there were over 7,000 ships part of that.
Just what does it mean for you guys after a year of COVID to be able to unveil so many new exhibits, so many new projects? What does it mean to you guys to be able to do that?
Yes, we're very excited. And probably 98% of everything you see here was donated or loaned to the museum by people who live in the tri-state area. So we're very fortunate to have a population that is, first of all, that held on to these artifacts as long as they did. And are now starting to, since we have a place to keep them and archive them, that they're bringing them by every weekend. People just show up with things, that they're interested in letting us display here at the museum. So yes, it's very exciting. We have a big summer coming up.
Knowing now that, things seem to start getting back to normal, just what does it mean to you guys, knowing that hopefully things will start picking up for you guys?
Picking up, yes, exactly. We've got most of our volunteers are back from COVID. We have some more that we're still waiting to come back. And if you'd like to put the word out, we're always open to getting new volunteers. We could use help in just about any way possible, as tour guides, help around the front desk, facilities, you name it. Copies of what I just spoke about were emailed to everybody at 10 o'clock today, but I've also got hard copies I can give you. Was there another question?
What's the admission, or is there a membership that someone can get?
The admission is $11 for 5 and older. That's pretty much for everyone. And there are memberships, depending on the levels, individual, family, and then it goes up to higher levels as well. So yes, the heads of our membership committee are Mr. and Mrs. Tiemann.
So you mentioned tour guides. When someone pays their admission, are they just left to their own devices to walk around, or are there set times for tours?
They have the option of going around, and we're adding to the signs in the museum to explain a lot of the detailed information around the artifacts. But we also have experienced tour guides who can take them around and point out key things, answer questions. We always have a couple on hand during open hours. Anything else? Coffee. water behind you. Please help yourself, otherwise we'll be stuffing our faces after you leave. There are donut holes and cookies, and believe it or not, I didn't order those cookies. They were at Donut Bank with planes on them. Can you believe that? Yeah, planes on those cookies. Yes, help yourself.